Ladies, gentlemen, am I often forgotten, but certainly not by me, 4-tickers. Welcome to the channel and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be discussing what is 4TAA, why is it important, why we do it, its benefits, how it kind of works behind the scenes, all of that good information about it, and hopefully I'll keep this to a relatively short video. But without further delay, let's go ahead and get into this guide. So, what do you actually need to start 4-ticking or practicing 4-ticking? Well, all you really need is a dual-wield set and a staff. That's it. That's all you need to 4-tick. You don't need anything more advanced than that. Just a dual-wield set and a staff. Now, what does 4TAA stand for? It stands for 4-tick auto-attacking. Now, with the auto-attack system in-game, auto-attacks will go out depending on the speed of the weapon. As you can see with dual-wield, they are fastest weapons and they will shoot out every couple of ticks. But if I swap over to a staff, it takes quite a bit longer in between auto attacks because it is a slower weapon speed. However, the damage on staff autos is much greater than dual wields. So the whole goal here of 4-ticking is to take advantage of staff auto attacks without waiting too much time in between. Now you noticed as I sat here casting dual wield auto attacks, if I swap to my staff, one will come out rather quickly and give out the damage, and that's because it used the previous attack speed for a single auto attack. So if we put this into practice with EOC, if I press an ability and put on a staff, you see on the second game tick there, the auto attack goes out. Now this is what's considered 5TAA or 5-tick auto attacking, because you're waiting for the auto attack to naturally come out. However, with magic, we can put spells onto bars such as Blood Barrage or Insight or saying any of these spells that you would use to auto cast with for magic. They can be put onto an action bar, and when you press the keybind, it allows these auto attacks to come out 1 tick faster than usual. So instead of waiting 5 ticks on this mini cycle for an auto attack to come out, we can force it one earlier, thus 4-tick auto attacking. Because in the whole mini cycle, it takes 4 ticks for the auto attack to appear. And since this happens to line up on a global cooldown, you can press the input of your auto attack with another ability to then do a staff ability with the auto attack that you're forcing. So for instance, I can do a dual ability, switch to my staff, and press auto with another ability, and they both come out on the same tick. You would then swap back to your dual wield, do a dual wield ability, and repeat this process. So in the big picture or the grand scheme of things, 4-ticking is not a specific ability rotation or specific rotation at all. You can just think of it as an add-on to your existing rotations in order to get out some extra damage. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wait, I'm wasting a game tick every other ability to get out an auto attack. Isn't this less damage because I'm doing less abilities per minute? And the short answer is no, because the extra staff auto you're getting with the 1 tick that you're wasting to allow that staff auto to come out is more than enough to make up for the damage, because staff autos hit really well. As you can see, some of the hits that we were doing earlier were anywhere from 2 to 3k damage, which is usually more than most basic abilities. Now, for some of the really astute out there who are paying attention, you could in theory just always do an auto attack in between each dual wield ability. However, we don't really do this because the hits from a dual wield are rather low. As you can see, the auto attacks here are in the 700s. And you can do this every single ability, but it's not really worthwhile just because it doesn't pull from the combined weapons. You're only casting a main hand auto, which is only going to hit so high. So just circling back and recapping everything that we've said so far, we are just keybinding auto attacks to get staff autos out 1 tick faster than usual to get the big boy staff autos into our rotations. So what are the actual order of operations for 4-tick? Well, you do a dual wield ability during the global cooldown, swap to a staff, press auto attack with a ability, swap back to your dual wield and do another dual wield ability, rinse and repeat. Now during the first dual wield ability, you can swap to staff at any point during that global cooldown. So you can swap on the last tick, the middle tick, it doesn't really matter. And I wait for the glow. So you notice after every ability we do, you'll see that like the spells here and whatnot, they all kind of glow. That is kind of the cue I use for when I should press auto attack with my next ability. I could press an ability here, see the glow, and then hit auto debreath. as an example. So yes, you are kind of juggling back and forth between dual wields and two-hand. However, once you build up the muscle memory for it, it's not too bad, and before you know it, it becomes basically habitual and you just do it without even thinking, just like you would for hammering out a sunshine rotation once you've learned it, or something with another boss, dealing with another mechanic. It's just another tool to add to the arsenal. Now, something I think is important as far as game settings are concerned is we sit here, we go escape, settings, gameplay, we go to combat and action bar, and then go into action bar itself, and then this option here, manual spell casting, I always have this enabled when doing anything magic related. What this allows you to do is have something set as an auto cast, either Insight, Fear, or Exsanguinate, but you can tick with other spells such as Blood Barrage or Ice Barrage, and it won't change over your auto cast immediately. So if I just sit here and I turn this setting off, you'll notice I'll do an ability, and when I go to tick, it'll put my auto cast over to Blood Barrage, which I don't want. I want to keep my auto cast on either Insight, Fear, or Exsanguinate. So we just go back to settings here, turn on manual spellcasting, and then I can just do an ability. And then when I go for the auto ability with the staff equipped, you notice the auto attack didn't change that time. Now, the only downside to manual spell casting is if you want to use things from an ability book, you will have to click the ability and then click on the target. So if you're trying to evoke something that you already have selected, you can't just press provoke, you have to then use it on the target like so, and it's kind of clunky. So if you want to use any ability from a book, I would just suggest finding some extra space on your action bar to use it from there. It doesn't even have to be keybound on a bar. If I just sit here and I drag this over, for instance, there's no keybind on provoke. From the action bar, I can just click provoke and it works. But if I were to try and click it from the ability book itself, if you have these open on your interface, you have to then actually click the target that you want to vote. So that's just something to keep in mind with manual spellcasting. You want to make sure everything that you need is keybound, or just get used to the system here. But there's usually a bit of delay if trying to use it from any of these abilities from a book. Now, this is only for abilities that actually have to be targeted. Other things such as like reflect, or divert, or rejuve, or cade, any of these abilities that don't need a target per se, you can click those from ability books just fine, and it's not an issue. Now, one caveat to four-ticking is that you cannot four-tick after a channeled ability. I press G-Conk here, and swap the staff. I hit auto and D-breath, but as you can see, only the D-breath went out. And this is the case for any of the channeled abilities. Asphyxiate, 10Ds, G-Conk, it all counts. Now, the other ability you can't four-tick after, even with a dual wield, I went ahead and just checked it. Even though it says it's not a channeled ability, Omnipower cannot be four-ticked afterward. You have to do another dual wield ability before you can four-tick again. So now we're going to move on to something known as continuusing, which is the method that people use for getting around channeled abilities when doing four-tick rotations. Now, I've heard a few people say that the correct method right now is to do a G-Conk, a dual wield ability, and then a four-ticked ability back into a G-Conk, rinse and repeat. Now, this does make a lot of sense, but sometimes in some rotations you want to continuous into a channeled ability. So all you do, instead of pressing auto ability, since you have your staff here, we can't cast G-Conk. So the order of operations would be to press your auto attack keybind, switch over to dual wield, and then press G-Conk. So it would look something like this. So we would hit a basic ability, swap over, do the order of operations, then press another, and then just keep going on from here. Now, in general, the suggested rotation for dealing with G-Conk timer does work rather nicely. Now, the reason you might want to have continuusing in your back pocket is sometimes it is nice to go into G-Conk, but more so it's for dealing with either asphyxiate or smoke tendrils. So if I go ahead and hit a dual wield ability here, and then I just equip my staff and four-tick into an asphyx, I'll let this play out. If I do another dual wield ability after this, I will not be able to four-tick. If you pay attention here, the auto attack never went out, even though I did the order of operations correctly. I don't remember the technical reason for this not working, but I know it doesn't work. So if you don't want to have to press two dual wield abilities after a channeled, such as asphyx or whatever, what you do is you hit your dual wield ability, then continuous into the asphyx, so you do it with dual wield, let it play out for however many hits you need, then you can do a dual wield ability, auto staff ability, and you notice the auto attack did go out that time. This is mostly useful inside of sunshine rotations, or outside of sun if you want to try and keep up more auto attacks. And this can even be applied to EOF specs. Say you want to use an EOF, a G staff is a single a hit, and if you cast it with your dual wield, you can 4-tick after a G staff. So you can do something like a basic ability, auto into a G staff, do another ability, say you auto into a G conk, you can then do a G staff and then immediately 4-tick afterwards, so on and so forth. However, if something is channeled like an ABS EOF, then you would have to either do that with dual wield or do a couple basics after that in order to be able to 4-tick again. Now, one more place you might be using a 4-ticked auto is with the ability detonate. So how this works with detonate is, say we just use a G conk to buff our detonate. We charge our Deto, swap to a staff, and release with auto detonate into an ability. Now you can release detonate with any ability you like. You could release it with D-Breath, a Corrupt Blast, a Wild Magic. You can even do it with Tsunami or Asphyxiate, literally any ability that you desire. Now the cool thing about detonate is you can literally do just about anything you want. Like you can fully unequip armor, it doesn't release the Deto. You can put your armor back on. You can do everything you want, swap to your staff, and then still release it, and you'll get your auto, your detonate, and whichever ability you release with. The only thing you can't obviously do is move around. However, that is the case for all channeled style abilities. But that is the last use case I can think of where you would also want to get in a 4-ticked auto. And you might have been releasing detonate this whole time with a 4-ticked auto and not ever realizing it. Now, if you want more information on doing magic DPS per se, or having actual sun rotations, I do have a 4-ticked sun rotation in my previous video, which is a magic DPS guide, so feel free to check it out. But I wanted to do a separate video explaining kind of the ins and outs of 4-tick and the different things you have to keep in mind. And to wrap up this video, I will just go over kind of the order of operations again for 4-ticking. So the order of operations for standard 4-tick is just a dual wield ability, waiting for the global cooldown to finish. You'll see the glow of your spells, and then you press your auto attack keybind into another ability with your staff equipped. And you swap to your staff during the global cooldown of the first dual wield ability. Then you swap back to your dual wields after that staff auto and staff ability to reset the auto attack speed so you can force out another 4-tick. And just for another example, we'll see how we do a dual wield ability, switch to staff, staff auto, staff ability, swap to dual wield, hit our dual wield ability again, and then we can just keep repeating this process over and over as far as we want. And you can also do it with thresholds and everything else, just per usual. And then if you need to continuous into a threshold or a channeled ability, I should say, the order of operation is do your dual wield ability, swap to your staff, and then hit your auto input, dual wield equip, and then the channeled ability of your choice. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. But before I ramble on for another 10 minutes or so, I'm going to go ahead and roll that outro. Ladies, gentlemen, and I did not forget about you 4-tickers, thank you very much for watching. Your viewership is greatly appreciated. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, nighttime, whatever it is, wherever you are, and I will see you next time for the next video. Peace.